Namaste, Jai Hind everyone. After a very long break, we are publishing a video in our English channel, MMK The Eagle View. Today, here, we are going to have a very historic perspective of what happened in Kargil. The first-hand information. It's a kind of a book review, you can call it, or we can say a story of valor and courage of an young officer then, Major Sada S. Peter, now Colonel Sada S. Peter, has written two books. This is not a strategic or I would say intellectual exercise. This is straight from the soldier's mouth. How the journey of Kargil happened, what exactly happened in Kargil, beautifully written in very simple, lucid language for all of us to understand. So let's welcome Colonel Sada S. Peter to our show. Welcome, sir. Jai Hind.
Welcome, Jai Hind.
Sir, just to give a very brief intro about yourself to our audience, sir, please.
Yeah, I'm second generation. My father was an Air Force officer, so studied all over the country, and he was my first hero. I always wanted to become an Air Force pilot, but I joined the army, but I became an army aviator later. And our family has given 106 years to the military service. Close family, that is from my father's elder brother in the Second World War, my father 65-71, and self in 99. So that's it about my family. Otherwise, I have two sons settled, and I left the army after 21 years of service in 2010. Been in corporate, done fairly well in corporate, and now I'm in Chennai.
Thank you, sir. And now coming to the first book, sir, The Stormtroopers at Outpost Bati. Can I have the book, sir? Thank you, sir. So this is the first book, Stormtroopers at Outpost Bati. It's a story, and there is one character in this book which sir chose not to give the real name. It's nobody else than him only. In this book, you have multiple chapters. You can comfortably read this book over a journey of flight, or maybe on a lazy Sunday where you can literally.
It's 170 pages.
170 pages. Very simple, simply and lucidly written book, I would say. So in this book, you will see and feel the Battle of Kargil. You will go through the journey as a soldier. You will go through the pain, agony, the victory, the anger, all the human emotions of a soldier in a battlefield which was fought in the peaks of Kargil. Today, we have fought a different battle, Operation Sindoor, a very high-pitched battle for 84 hours. We have a first-hand information of what exactly was happening, a lot of misinformation too. But here in Kargil, if I time travel to my time, I was in my second year of my engineering, and this battle and this war of Kargil was the biggest game changer in my life, which pushed me, motivated me to take up a career in the armed forces. See, a lot of my batchmates who joined army then, even the Army, Navy and Air Force, the primary reason was the Kargil. Why? Because a battlefield doesn't end, it doesn't have an end. It gives birth to new breed of soldiers, it gives birth to new breed of officers. That's what exactly Kargil did. And after 26 years of moving ahead, we should never forget what exactly happened. This battle was fought by men aged between 18 to 35 years. It was not a battle of weapons, what we saw in Operation Sindoor, our technology, our missiles, our drones. This was a battle which was fought barehanded. There are n number of ceilings which were broken, be it using guns like Bofors, be it the rockets, where rocket regiment where sir was heading a battery. It was typically supposed to be used in plain areas in our western borders, but we took it to a height of 10,000 to 13,000 feet, and that decisively changed the battle advantage which Pakistanis had, and later on we recaptured all the peaks from them, and we subsequently we won the battle without any iota of doubt. So in this book, sir, what actually prompted you to write this book, sir, and few memories of this book which you want to highlight it to the audience?
I will. See, I've always been, I had a flair for writing right from childhood, because very early in life, while I was just about 6-7 years old, my dad gave me the dictionary and the atlas. And every time he would take me out, he would make me write, So that slowly developed the love for writing and reading. I used to read quite a lot. In fact, I had finished Freedom at Midnight by the time I was in 9th standard, though the understanding then was very different. I had to read it 6 times over my life to really get the feel of that book. My grandfather was a librarian, so he was doing this business, so there used to be always some books lying at home.
Okay.
And though I was a student of maths and science, I chose to do literature in college.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. One is that I wanted time, and English was very comfortable.
Okay.
So without studying, I was university 6th and class 1st.
Okay.
And I had time to prepare for UPSC.
Okay, sir.
And I had +2. My desire was always to become a Air Force pilot because my dad was an Air Force officer.
Okay.
But somehow CDS I was not on merit. I got through to the army. It was a little wary. But then I knew that from the army there is a way one could go to aviation.
Right.
Through artillery then. Now all arms can go. So I chose artillery and I went to a rocket regiment. And as luck could have it, I did my aviation also.
Right, sir.
So my journey in the artillery was commissioned in 89 rocket regiment.
Right, sir.
After 3 years went for flying, came back after flying. In 99, you have to come back to your regiment.
Right,
It's
absolutely.
not a permanent
one. Yeah.
So I was just getting the feel of becoming a battery commander because I left as a young officer.
Okay.
And this was in Delhi. And my wife was at down home. One boy was 4 years old and one baby was just 6 months old.
So when you went into the battlefield, the
there
baby was 6 months old.
She had gone for confinement and I was in field.
Okay.
So I had immediately applied for a house. I got a house. I booked a car. We were looking forward to, having
It's a peace station.
Peace
sir.
station.
Peace station.
Then.
Okay.
And the regiment, because one rocket regiment, those days used to always get stationed back at Delhi.
Okay.
Now the obats and all have changed quite
Right,
a lot.
right.
So anyway, so while this was happening, this Kargil thing was going on.
Okay.
So every day in the news we would see, something happening.
Right, sir.
We would play games with the men,
Right,
come back in the evening. I was a bachelor, then post-bachelor.
Okay, sir.
So we would sit with the officers. But the day those aircrafts got shot, Konda Huja and
Nashiketa.
that day I started thinking that this is getting serious because when air resource is touched,
It's a war.
it's an act of war and they have touched it within our own. We have not gone across the LOC.
Across the LOC.
It's all happening within our city. But never in my wild dream did I think that 8-10 days later I would be there.
Okay.
So around 23rd, 24th May, early in the morning at 2, I got a call on the set where the exchange told me that the commanding officer wants you in the office.
Okay.
So with the men you have some squabbles. I thought there was some issue.
Right, sir,
I
right.
just wore my PT dress and went. And I see that the entire regimental headquarters block is fully lit.
Okay.
The ops room is open. All officers are there and some
Okay.
are in uniform and even the commanding officer in uniform. I was in my PT ring.
Okay.
So I thought maybe some big scuffle or something fatal has happened. Even then it didn't strike me.
Okay.
The moment I went and I saw the maps, I knew that there's something. I was thinking that the regiment has been mobilized.
Okay.
One battery was mobilized.
One battery was mobilized.
So I was told, even then I told the CEO, sir, very good sir, it's an honor because in my mind I thought I will not be going because I just come back from field.
Okay.
So flying and all that, but
Absolutely.
field. But the other 2 battery commanders were senior and they both were medical categories.
Okay.
And
So
I
they
was
cannot be mobilized to a
And I was
field
a
area.
youngster
Okay.
from the same unit.
Okay.
The CEO says, Peter, there can be nobody better than you.
Okay.
You will take the battery. So it was a big blank. But then, things fell in place. For about 20 minutes I was shaken up.
Okay.
Not out of fear, but it was such a tall order. I had left artillery as a
Right.
young officer.
You just
I was
came back to
not,
the unit.
Comfortable. And I had to be a battery commander, which is of a rocket battery.
Right.
And that too in operations.
Right.
So we had 36 hours. And they didn't give me one full battery. They gave me, increments. 2 from battery 1, 2 launches
Okay.
from, because they wanted the best equipment in the men. So it was an integrated battery with the headquarters of Quebec.
Okay.
And then we marched 1,000 kilometers from Delhi to Dras. 26th we left. We had 28 military vehicles and 55 civil trucks carrying 4,000 rounds.
It's almost 100 trucks of.
Yeah, but I had no control over the civil vehicles.
Okay.
Neither could we control.
Right.
We lost them, but those guys were so good. Somewhere by the time we were crossing Udhampur, those buggers were in line with us.
Okay. Okay.
So this regiment had already just done an exercise and come back. So
Okay.
a lot of, wear and tear, a lot of
Okay.
repairs. But we had a good workshop detachment.
Okay.
I kept my mind absolutely focused on what I should do.
Okay.
And it was by then 16 years old regiment. We had good men.
Okay.
So each guy had done his homework and everybody knew this was serious business.
Okay. Okay. You're entering a war.
Yeah. So If you go for practice camp, at least some guy will leave something and come.
Absolutely,
Here
yeah.
too, nothing was left behind because they knew that. But they were still in the mind, they thought that they will not, it's an area weapon, it's a rocket battery, they won't use it in high altitude. The men were thinking that, we'll go up to Jammu and then we'll be kept,
Okay. As
When
a
we
result.
crossed Jammu and when we crossed Udhampur and when we came to Srinagar, then
Okay.
the
Then the
things,
seriousness comes in.
started sinking in. So we reached on the first cross Zojila.
Okay.
By then the unit, this reason of the first book is because the 2IC was sent
Okay.
to help us embed.
Okay.
Or probably, I don't know, but not required, but he was suddenly sent and he flew down to Srinagar and he
Okay.
took a jeep and came and
Okay.
so when I went to the front, battery commander was there, but I had a senior and we were only a battery.
Okay.
So we were given a target list. First 2-3 days we were engaging here and there.
Okay.
2nd June was the first salvo.
Okay.
We fired. And the regiment was 16 years old. So
Okay.
we were blooded in
Okay.
battle when the regiment was sweet 16.
Okay.
But then totaling had not fallen. And a lot of targets still had to be acquired.
Okay.
They needed good observation anchor OPs.
Okay.
So they found that I was spare. Though
Okay.
I was the battery commander.
Okay.
They knew that this guy is a pilot, his observation will be good.
Okay.
So the commander said, Peter, now since your 2ICs here, you look after the battery.
Okay.
You pick up your OP party,
Okay.
go up to that hill, sit
Okay.
down there and register targets.
Okay.
So till totaling falls, your location, you are detached from your unit.
Okay.
So this was a new challenge altogether.
Okay.
No acclimatization, nothing.
So
But
from Delhi, 7 days of travel and there's
3-4
absolutely no
days there
accommodation.
and then
Yeah.
to post Bati.
Okay. So that's at around 10,000 feet altitude.
No, we were at 10, 9, 10.
Okay, okay.
The post was almost 13,000.
13,000 feet.
It was a parallel ridge line to Tolari.
Yes, yes. Okay.
So about 3.5-4 kilometers from
Okay,
Tolari. And
okay.
where he was heavily sitting.
Okay.
He was sitting on Barbad bunker, he was sitting on Black Rock.
Right.
We were, almost, not surrounded, but
She was there all across
all,
Kargil.
all over.
Okay.
All over. And I was quite dazed because we were only 4 guys, but
Right.
we had a guide and we had 2-3 fellows from the Grenadier Battalion.
Okay.
That post was already occupied by 20-25 guys, almost
One platoon, sir. One platoon.
less than one platoon.
Okay, less than one
They were lying Dogu.
Okay.
They were holding it for a firm base for a subsequent attack on Black
Black
Rock. That ridge was being held.
Okay.
And there was a major also there.
Okay.
He had already suffered a lot of issues and he had gone through attacks. So
Okay.
it was some cooling time for him. Just to look
Okay.
after.
Okay.
There you have to give that.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Because
Battle stress.
why a major should be sitting with 25 men.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
was there. So we moved in with my 4 boys. The
Okay.
entire story of this stormtroopers at Outpost Party is a 12-13 day story
Okay.
of my OPBC party with that
Infantry
unit. How initially we were not very much welcome because I was all the time yapping on telephones on my radio set.
Yeah.
So the noise, it's all sun san. But then when they saw me register, bring live fire, they were also shocked. One guy with a radio set can bring such a volume of fire.
Okay.
Then we were under attack.
Okay.
And then I saw their ferocity.
Okay.
I mean, the way they used their snipers,
Okay.
picking up a guy.
So there was a Pakistani attack
Yeah.
on your post.
I
Okay.
was almost, see, I've been a pilot, I've been an artillery officer,
Right.
but right into the heart and surrounded.
Right.
But it was there. In fact, he also gave me and our snipers, our infantry battalions, I salute them. Only those 12 days taught me what it is to hold a line,
Okay.
how it is to live without food,
Okay.
how it is to live without a bath,
Yeah.
how to be on rations, how
Okay.
to not get into each other's blood,
Okay.
how to, in those times also be happy with a
Right,
nice
sir.
meal, small little
Keep yourself
meal,
cool, okay.
Those boys were fantastic. They had
Okay.
such admin boxes. They had the best of pickle.
Okay.
They had masala. So whatever used to come, we used to have a feast out there.
Okay, the Rajasthani troops.
Yeah, one grenadiers. No?
Okay, grenadiers.
And amazing man. Salute
Okay.
them and they had respect to me because they knew that this man, can bring so much of volumetric fire.
Okay, okay.
So we lost boy on the troop. We had 2 dogs.
Okay.
We had civilian porters coming up and go. We should sit in the evening. We should talk. Guys would tell their love stories.
Okay.
So all that is there. It's a
Okay, so
beautiful-
in this book, I happen to see one part of it. We have a love story of a.
there are 3.
Yeah, 3. One about a teenager.
Teenage.
And what is that about, sir?
So
In a
this is
nutshell.
one of the soldiers. How
Okay.
he was loving a girl.
Okay.
And he had to marry her. And he used to tell how much he was in love with her. Then there is a small little story of the Major Saab, but that's not mine. I don't take.
Okay.
No, so that story. Then
Okay.
there's a widower. How
Okay.
he loses his wife.
Okay.
There is a boy who is, in bad terms with his wife.
Okay.
And how this brings reconciliation.
Okay,
And
this
how,
battle actually-
And they afterwards they. So many great things happened in those 12 days.
Okay.
I can never forget those 10 days.
Okay.
But it took me 22 years to understand. But the memory was there. It was
Yeah.
not gone.
Yeah.
I just had to evoke it.
Okay.
And it took 2 years for me to write it.
Okay, 2 years to write this book. So one thing, very emotional thing which I saw in this book is about your last letter to your father and wife. If something happens to me,
Yeah.
this letter is supposed to be.
So,
okay. Can you just say
yeah,
that?
that's see, I was still in the comfort of a battery commander. You have a guard, you have 100 men, you have the launchers. Now, when they told me to detach, we were only 4.
Okay.
I was going to be protected, but I was going only with 4 of my 2 operators, one technical assistant to do
Right.
my mapping and all that, to help me with the data,
Okay.
and one boy to help. 5 guys,
Okay.
we were going, and alien country infested with the enemy,
Okay.
and carrying small little Sten guns and
The carbines.
INSARs,
Okay.
which will stand no match to what
heavy machine guns and,
infantry guy would
right.
have or snipers would have. So I had this dull feeling that maybe I might not come back. I was just 32, 33 years
Okay.
old, married say 6, 7 years. First boy was, I told you,
Okay.
5. Second baby was just about 6 months old.
Okay.
So I wanted to write letters of closure to 2 people. One was
Okay.
to my father, who was an
Okay.
old man,
Okay.
retired Air Force officer in Chennai.
Okay.
So I wrote a letter. It was a
Okay.
very sad letter, but I had to say thank you
Right.
for whatever he did. And one to my wife to guide her, because she was just about 27, 28. So
Right.
saying thank you. So, but the funny part was the senior JCO who was below would not accept the letter.
So he didn't accept the
He was a
letter.
very tough Sadaji, and he was a Naik when I joined the same regiment
Okay.
as a youngster. He said, Saab ji, to see aap rakho, no way, I am not going to take this letter.
Okay.
But I had to give to him. So
Okay.
you have this movie in Tamil, na?
Yes, sir.
Vadivel.
Deal.
Talks about
Okay,
deal.
okay.
So I made a deal with him.
Okay.
So he liked the deal, I also liked the deal.
Okay.
So I said, Saab, I'll be very dirty, stinky, hungry when I come back. I'll
Okay.
come back in 10, 12 days.
Okay.
So you make me some good chicken curry, nice hot water, change of uniform.
Okay.
And we'll have some brandy together or whatever.
Okay.
And you tear and burn the letters in the door.
Okay.
He liked the deal.
Okay.
So he took the letters.
Okay.
And it happened that way. I came back and he burnt the letters.
Okay.
And he burnt it with a lot of ferocity.
Ferocity. So, people who are watching this video, put yourself in Sir's place. You are writing a farewell letter basically. This letter is addressed to your wife, who has no idea of what's actually happening in Kargil. It was a war, and she's just 27 years old with a 7-month-old baby and a 5-year-old kid. And then the other letter is addressed to his dad, who's an ex-force officer, and it's a very emotional one. The fellow soldier is not ready to take that letter, but in fact, Sir had been narrating it very casually, and he's a man of wit and humor. Says, put that wit here and to make it so light for us. But imagine one of us being in his place. So this is what we have been trying to tell people, people of our country. The freedom which we enjoy comes with a hell lot of cost. It really costs blood. It really costs people, our soldiers' lives. There are n number of stories, sad stories, but luckily, in God's grace, we have Colonel Peter sir here right with us to narrate this wonderful story. So I would suggest you to read this book. Have this book as a memoir. You can have it in your bookshelf. You can gift it. You can give it to your kids. This can go on till generations, because one day or the other we all will live, but the legacy has to stay. That's the purpose of getting this book reviewed. I got my signed copy of this book. We will give you the modalities of it. Now the story doesn't end here. Now it moves on to a next story, which is the second book which has been published just few days before by Peter sir. Sir, can we have that book?
Yeah. So why not? Hammer Tingla.
Hammer Tingla's Hammerhead. This is a typical a rocket regiment's officer using that hammer. Now, off late, when Trump did this Beat 52, GBU 57 bombing.
It's our own hammer.
Yeah, it was called as Midnight Hammer. So this book has been called as Hamitungla's Hammer. Hamitungla is actually a place.
It's a pass.
Yeah, it's a pass. So, sir, can you just brief this book, sir?
Yeah. So I already had the script because I fought the war.
Okay.
So it was not very difficult for me to write this, and I'd already learned from writing the first book, hours of frustration and changing. So I kept myself bare minimum. This took just 10 months after
Okay.
that.
So this took 3 years.
2 years,
2
both.
years and
The
this
whole
took-
story took. I
Okay.
had the material,
Okay.
but I published that first.
Okay.
That was the first part,
Okay.
and this is the second part. So
Okay.
when I came down from Bati,
Okay.
almost last sector was, except for Tiger Hill, everything was clear.
Okay, Tiger Hill was the last battle.
They were
Yeah.
planning for that because we were in control.
Okay.
So then it was all that I found, some training, some issues, because the 2IC had left.
Okay.
So I was in command of these men, and a lot of things were being done. Then the commander there, he called me, Brigadier
Okay.
Lakshmi, the amazing man.
Okay.
He was the, I won't say so showstopper. He's the man who brought the show of the guns.
Okay.
We redefined, we used to call it as
The artillery.
fire support. He
Okay.
said it is fire assaults.
Assault.
100 gun concept, 100
Okay.
guns on one objective for 2 hours.
Okay.
Just imagine, it will break the strongest guy's back.
Okay.
That was the kind of beating. Yeah, and he was a very, very ferocious and a man who exuded, energy. So he told me, he liked me a lot because I was all the commanding officers were all, 40s
Okay.
or late 30s
Right.
regiments. I was an independent battery commander at 32.
32. Okay.
So he said, boy, come here.
Okay.
So he said, Peter, you've done a good job, fantastic, but I can't hold you
Okay.
because you have fresh orders. I said, no, what, sir? He said, no, now the 3 div
Okay.
in Kargil, that sector, Batalik,
Okay.
where Jubar was a big
Jubar top
issue.
was the-
one Bihar.
Yeah, 1 BR.
They
The
did
maximum
so
number
much.
of casualties the battalion took.
And such very rugged mountains. Actually, those are unsung mountains. If you see, most of the
Right.
credit went to Tolaling and Tiger Hill, but those battles were very fierce, because
Okay.
the gradient.
So that's where we lost Major Saravanan.
So he says, Peter, we're going in finally again. We got enough guns.
Okay.
They've heard a lot, so they want a troop.
Okay.
So a battery's got 6,
Right.
1 troop detached. I could have sent a captain. I had
Okay.
2 officers.
Okay.
He said, no, they want you.
Okay.
Yes, it's
So you were handpicked for that.
yeah, because they said we were an experienced guy. You fire from a pass.
Okay.
We can't take experimentation. And not that my officers were not good, but
Okay.
of the 3, the best.
Choices, the
they
choices.
wanted the best.
Yeah.
So we with just 6 hours, 3 launchers, 3-4 vehicles,
Okay.
some ammunition. I told him to send ammunition later.
Okay.
But I carried about 300 rounds through
Okay.
the night from Dras to Tasgaon to Kaksar
Okay.
and to Kargil.
Okay.
The military station, parked my launchers, went, took my orders. The commander again there saw me, he said, Peter, your story has come before you, you've done a good job. And he was also an aviator like me. Air
Okay,
officer.
okay,
So he
okay.
saw the pilot badge and he was wearing one. He says, you're the man.
Okay.
Because the observer target distance from Hamutingla to the Jubar was about 12 to 13 kilometers.
13 kilometers was the target. Right?
Yeah, it's very difficult to observe. You know the
Okay.
substantial
Yes, sir. Yes,
factor
sir.
there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, tomorrow evening I want to fire.
Okay.
And then it's just rolling.
So that was the final assault.
That
for the-
was planned, but we had a couple of more assaults.
Okay. Okay.
For
the
me,
Juba top, it was a
Yeah.
major assault.
assault. He wanted me to fire 3 salvos.
3 salvos. Okay.
120, 240, 360.
360 rockets,
Rockets,
back to back, and one
back to
salvos
back,
of the
yeah.
other.
Get them back, fire. Get them back.
Okay.
So one launcher is, one rocket is 66 kg.
Okay.
The warhead is 38 kg.
Okay.
38 kg into 40 is 1.2 tons.
Okay.
So 1.2, 2.4, 3.6 in one salvo.
Okay.
And then you take a break, take them back, load.
Right,
So
right.
you'd have dumped 10 tons of ammunition on that one post or 2, 3
10
posts.
tons, it's almost.
Almost. You need some. You convert it and see
Right,
you
right.
need so many regiments to fire. That
Right.
is the brutality and the.
So the mediums are also firing, the Bofors are also firing. and the-
Mediums were not used there because of the
Okay.
firing. Bofors
was firing.
LFGs were firing.
Okay.
Light field guns. They are also very good guns.
And the rockets were the force multiplier.
Yeah, but we were not used as the fire plan.
Okay.
We were to be firing before the fire plan.
Okay. Okay.
Because the safety distances, because this is almost, it's an area weapon.
So by then the infantry is already started
Yeah,
their
they
assault.
wanted a safe distance.
Okay.
So they said, we'll give you a slot.
Okay.
Only after your third,
Salvo, then
we will
the.
start the fire plan and the thing will move.
Okay.
So I moved through the night, through firing, through shelling. It's all beautifully written in this book.
Okay, sir.
the men especially.
Okay.
The way they, and I went up there, and then ranging was difficult. I didn't have met. We resorted to rough and ready, practice, ranging checks.
Okay.
So I got a fix. There was another OP who was close to Jubar, who was assisting me on radio.
Okay.
Because we needed that help.
Okay.
And somehow I got a fix and we were ready the next day.
Okay.
And 120.
Okay.
Then we had 2 medium guns there, so those boys also were helping us.
Okay.
Got the launchers back, loaded them in 50 minutes, 120.
Okay.
After 240, they said not required because they had, the time was up and they
By then the infantry
so they
soldiers were
said
already reached
2 salvos is enough.
Okay.
They made me fire my balance on a depth target,
Okay.
which is controlled by somebody else.
Okay.
And that night was over.
Okay.
The next day, Jubar was gone.
Okay.
And our troops were there.
Okay, sir.
In fact, the forward is written by the, for this book,
Yes.
it's written by the commanding officer of 1 Bihar.
Okay.
Then Colonel Yadav retired as brigadier,
Okay.
who was the battalion.
Tell OP Yadav, sir.
Yeah, who took that feature.
Back
It's
to.
written about the artillery.
Okay, sir.
And after that, the war was almost towards the end.
How many rockets are fired, sir? In the sense, your battery, how many rockets
Completely,
you
we
fired?
fired 2,494 in all.
2,494.
And in the next practice camp,
Okay.
we got only 14 for the entire regiment for 3-4 years because
Okay, because the rockets have all been fired.
they said you simulate.
Okay.
Because it's a costly thing.
It's a costly thing.
It was 95,000 or something. 1
A lakh plus per rocket.
So I fired 25 crores
Okay.
worth of ammunition.
Just bursting.
No, but amazing, you know. I don't know what drove me, the kind of
Okay.
energy, the power, you know. We were hardly eating, sleeping,
Right.
eating some biscuits.
So there's no bath and there's absolutely no communication.
But
But
communication, we had good radio sets and all.
in a sense with the family, sir. You don't.
Family, once I came back from the first book, I through a Inmar satellite
Okay,
iridium
sat phone.
set, I spoke to my wife.
Okay.
It was one-way communication.
Okay.
So before I could explain to them that you wait, they were all
Then the-
anxious. It was all, you know. But I heard their voice. They heard my voice.
Okay.
But my wife used to write a lot of letters. So
Okay.
they would come in bunches.
Okay.
No letters from the girlfriends. Okay. So we were given some very tactically important targets, strategically important. I won't say strategic, tactically important. You know, further
The depth targets.
Depth targets. So after this also, I took 2-3 engagements.
Okay.
So
But by then we were close to the ceasefire.
yeah, and then we knew ceasefire was coming.
Okay.
That is the time those fellows were planning something funny where they wanted to push in some bad elements from this sector to
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So that camp was somewhat identified.
Okay.
That was also taken.
Okay. So the terrorist camps are taken down.
Yeah, and one of my launches suffered.
Okay.
So now how to get that ready?
Right.
We had to get a particular spare from
Okay.
down, and we had to cannibalize it from an Air Force ZIL truck, and how
Okay.
I sent my men and how the aircrafts were coordinated. Even 25 years back.
Okay.
All that is there beautiful in this book.
Okay. Sir.
So people will really love reading this.
So viewers, we generally don't tell you to share our videos. You always do it, but this is one thing which we kindly request you to share it to people. 2 wonderfully written stories from a soldier who had fought in Kargil during the toughest of the times, and that was a battle where the rocket regiments are actually meant to be used in plain areas, especially in our western borders, not meant to be served or serviced in high altitude areas. But taking the gun to 13,000 feet without accommodation and without a big orientation of the terrain, what exactly is happening, is what typically makes Indian Army the most professional army in the world. So in these 2 books, it's written, I'm again saying one more time, in a very, very simple and a lucid language. You will love reading this book. I had got 2 signed copies, author signed copies for myself. I completed one, I'll read another book. So it's time for you to buy this book. You can buy this book in Amazon, in Bookmart, both the links are given below. But if somebody would prefer to have an author signed copy from Col Sada as Peter, you can always contact him in his mobile phone. In the interest of everybody's time, you can drop a WhatsApp message. You will receive a hand signed copy. I request you all to read this and share this book as a gift, as a memoir, or even in your offices, in your libraries, in your schools, in your colleges. A very precious moment. It literally takes you back 26 years back to those heights of Kargil. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much to being there in the
I
show.
thank you for giving me
It's
this
our pleasure, sir. It's our pleasure, sir. Thank you, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you.